Welcome to Fox Manor Vintage. In last week's video, I shared how I added French charm and sophistication to my living room. In this week's video, I will be doing the same thing to the adjoining dining room. I will be using decor pieces that I've had in other rooms of the house that I've thrifted. I'll be focusing mostly on decor because I already have the existing furniture in the dining room. It's not a very big dining room, so I'm not going to be add any additional furniture because I do want to maintain the traffic flow and the ability for people to sit comfortably at the table. So the focus will be on adding decor, adding wall art, and just infusing the space with that mix of French, rustic, and classic elements that creates such an inviting and elegant space. So let me get started. The dining room is not a very large room, and most of the space is taken up by the dining table. This is a table that has a leaf in the middle, so I could make it smaller, but we entertain so often. We have a large extended family that it's just more practical for me to leave the leaf on the table. That way I can seat up to 8 people comfortably around this dining table. I also have this china cabinet, which I thrifted probably more than 20 years ago, and it holds my collection of blue and white transferware. I also have some silver and some crystal in there. Over here I have this little French table, marble top, and this I'm currently using as a little bar, and it has a drawer where I store things like napkin holders and extra cutlery. And then the other piece in the room is this trunk, which I store some of my Christmas decorations in. The lower part of it I'm using for wine bottle storage. So my idea is to add some personality to the room, give it a little bit of a French flair. I'm going to be using the rug, one of the rugs that I tried out in the living room that I felt was a little too small. I think this will go very nicely under the dining table. I also want to hang something on this wall that's going to cover this ugly wire from the security camera, and I think I have just the right piece to hang up there. So that's it, that's the room. Let me go ahead and get started by moving the dining table and the chair so that I can put the rug underneath. For above the trunk, I'm going to be using this old, very heavy mirror. It's all wood and it's stamped as made in Italy. I don't know how old it is. It does have labels in the back, but none of them have a date. This mirror I found at Goodwill of all places, and I had just pulled up to Goodwill, and this was still in the donation area where people drop things off. They hadn't even priced it or taken it inside. So when I saw it, I parked my car, I ran up to it, and I asked one of the people who worked there how much they were going to be pricing this at. She looked at it and she's like, oh, at least $15. So when I heard that, I said, can you put a ticket on it? Because I'm going to buy it. And I did. And I brought it home. And here it is in all its glory. I think it will be fine just leaning on the trunk. I am going to be putting things in front of it. I have this irrational fear of hanging very heavy items on walls. So whenever I can kind of prop something that's heavy against the wall, I always try to follow that route. So this is going to be right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my drink station from that little marble top table to this area here. I mean, it only makes sense since I have the wine bottles underneath. I went ahead and I added a silver plated ice bucket that I thrifted. And a lot of these bottles have been here for years. We're not really big drinkers, but we do entertain frequently, and I do like to have something to offer my guests. And in fact, most of these bottles, I display them because I love the texture, especially these woven ones. And I also like bottles with interesting shapes. So that really dictated a lot of what I'm using on this little tray. For this wall, I have this very pretty tapestry that I thrifted from our local church. Every summer they have this huge sale at the church and they sell things for amazing prices. I paid $5 for this and it's a very good sized tapestry. All of the proceeds go to benefit their mission in Africa, so it's for a good cause, and like I said, the prices cannot be beat. So I'm going to use this here on this wall to cover this ugly wire that's hanging for the camera. I think that does a good job of disguising that wire. I've been looking for a place to display our little collection of samovars, and I think I'm going to try it on the little marble top table that's beside the china cabinet. Are you familiar with samovars? Samovars originated in Russia, and they were traditionally the way that tea was made. They eventually spread to other countries in Eastern Europe and also in the Middle East. Let me show you how these work. These are really interesting. These are the three samovars that I have. I have this little stubby one, I have that taller one in the back, and then I have this medium-sized one. These were normally made of metal. The most common metal was brass, which is what mine are made of. And these are still fully functional. In fact, that bigger one, we frequently use it in the summer when we're outside picnicking to make tea. So the way these work is remove the cover. So inside there's the main chamber, and that's where the water goes. And then there is this metal pipe that runs the length of the samovar, and that's where you put your hot coals. So the hot coals heat up the water. There's this little steam release here. And when the water gets hot, you get your teapot, you fill it with tea leaves, and you use the water from the samovar to fill your teapot. Now, this tea in the pot is very concentrated, very strong. So then you put the little crown on the samovar, and the teapot goes on top. So the teapot stays here while the tea is brewing, and also it stays there to keep the tea warm. When the tea has brewed, you can serve a large number of people, and you can customize the strength of the tea to the preferences of the tea drinker. So if someone wants a stronger tea, you use more tea from the teapot and less water, and vice versa. If someone wants a weaker tea, then you will add a little bit of the concentrated tea to their little glass, and then you top it off with more of the water. I'm adding this brass tray for the big samovar to sit on. And I'm also adding this brass drip bowl, and this was placed under the tap, which is here. So sometimes when the tap was opened, water would drip, and this bowl would protect the surface that the samovar was on. I have these two statues that I think would be a very nice complement to the tapestry that I hung on the wall. Tapestries are such a staple of French interiors, and because French interiors do feature a mix of classical elements and then the more rustic elements, I thought that these two statues would complement the vignette that I have going on this table very nicely. Well, the room is done. Like I said in the beginning, I wasn't going to be adding any furniture to the room. All of the furniture pieces here work very well and are very functional for my needs. So really all this room needed was just some decor, some interesting pattern and color added in. And I started that right here on this vintage washstand with my collection of Samovars, and also this tapestry, which was perfect for hiding that ugly wire. Now you can't even see it. This vintage washstand came from France. My husband thrifted this, about 18, 19 years ago. And the gentleman that he bought it from said that his grandmother brought this from France. It was part of her dowry. And as you can see, it has the little spots here to hang the towel. Unfortunately, the one on this side was missing when we purchased this. It probably broke throughout the years of it being used, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to find something similar to the one on the other side so that it can look like a complete piece again. But I'm really happy with the way this turned out here. I think all the elements work very well together. The china cabinet, I really didn't do anything to. It offers a lot of storage. I do use all of these dishes. When we have holiday meals, I love to use my blue and white transferware. I also use a lot of the silver. And the bottom also offers a lot of storage. There are drawers for tablecloths and napkins, and I keep a lot of my teacups and dessert plates behind those doors. On this wall, I added one of the dog prints that I had shared with you in my prior video. This is a sweet one. I love the expression on the dog's face. It's so sweet. He's trying to comfort the little girl who looks like was scolded for something. And then on either side of this window, I have these wall shelves that were hanging in my bathroom for the longest time. But I really thought that they would be much more useful in this room. And I put these busts, one on each. This is a little girl. And on the other side, I have the little boy. This trunk is now the bar area. This was actually a coffee table, believe it or not. And when I found it, I thought it would be perfect to put this trunk on. So I had my husband cut off the tabletop, and I knew that it was the perfect fit for this trunk. So now I have all the wine bottles together and also our collection of liqueurs. And of course, the favorite piece in the room for me is this very ornate mirror. And while it's Italian, I think it could really be called in the French style as well. It's very ornate, it has the gilding, and I think it just makes that entire wall. Then I have the dining table. For the dining table, I have a runner that my mother crocheted for me, and then I just duplicated the floral arrangement that I have in the living room, the dried hydrangeas. I think they add texture and a little bit of interest without adding a lot of color. And I also wanted to use this blue and white vase because I do have elements of blue and white in both rooms. I thought it was nice to have it on the dining table as well. And then I have this fabulous brass chandelier, which is also very ornate, which I love. At night it casts such a lovely glow. And on the floor, I have one of the rugs that was an option for the other room that I ended up deciding against. And I think it's just the perfect fit for this dining area. It accommodates the table, it accommodates the 6 chairs, so the size is just perfect. And on this little narrow wall, I used those 2 prints that I had, also very much in keeping with the French flavor of the room. So I'm very happy with how the room turned out. Now these 2 rooms, the living room and the dining room, I think really flow very nicely into each other. They have a similar aesthetic. And I'm just very pleased with everything. So let me know in the comments below what you think. I would love to hear your opinion. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I'll see you in the next video. If you want to see how I added French style to the adjoining living room, watch this video next.